Thank you. Okay, I would like to talk about giving power to the people and what that really means. Now, power we might think of as being political, but it's also more. There's more to power than that. There's economic power. There's academic and scientific power. There's social power. There's religious power, celebrity power. You can use that word to define a lot of different environments, and I would like to talk about all of that. When we think of power to the people, we think of being able to change the world, and that's exactly what we want to focus on. And we want to devise ways to give more power to the people so that they can change the world in whatever way they see fit. I believe that's important. Okay, so we, in our paradigm, normally think of power as being political. And we need to branch out of that. We need to expand the paradigm. We like to think of the way to change things is to write new laws. And that's good, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But there's also more ways to change the world. And we want to explore ways to do that, to venture into the areas that we're not using our imagination to change. The religious systems, the political systems, the educational systems. We want to change that. We want to give people more power to change those things in the way they see fit. Now, a scientist will tell you that power is the ability to do work. If I had a brick over here, I could pick it up, I could move it, I could put it down. I've now changed the location of that brick and I've performed work. And when we talk about having, giving individuals more power, it's really, you have to put a context to that. And that context has to be, what do they want to change? What tools do they need to use to change to do the kinds of work that they want? And when you talk about that, now the context becomes the system. Right now, the system that I'm using to hopefully affect some sort of change is going to be DigiFest and this TED Talk. I'm communicating verbally to you. You're the audience. You're listening, and it's verbal communication. And if I had some sort of digital interactive tool that I would like you to participate in and collaborate with, then I would have to bring in smartphones and projector systems, and then we would be able to interact in that digital interactive environment. But right now we can't because we haven't taken out our smartphones. The point there is that this verbal communication has its limitations, and if I want to be able to do more, then I need to be able to change the system and to bring in other systems in the case of smartphones. Okay? So that's how we need to think about giving people more power, not just the power itself, not just the object of that power, not just the conclusion that we would like, the change that we would like. We have to talk about the systems and how the system will be used by the people to give them more power. Okay, so I mentioned that this is a verbal system and that we have the possibility of smartphones. Well, other systems of power, what are they? You're going to have the press. You're going to have the printed press. So you have books and magazines and newspapers. And that is one system that people use to communicate their power. You can write something, I can read it, and I can agree or disagree, but there's limitations in those kinds of systems because I can't argue with a book, or at least I can't argue with the author through his book. If I want to argue with the author and maybe change her ideas, then I would have to go to the author. So the press, the printed press, does not enable certain things. And in the same manner, the radio or the television limits you to certain types of power projection, to communication, and we obviously take this for granted, and that's okay, but the point is that your ability to do work, your ability to change your world is limited by the systems that you use and operate in. Now finally we get to the internet in terms of systems, and the internet I don't consider a system, I consider a fabric for a system, and those systems would be web applications. And I would like to just briefly mention 3 web applications we're all familiar with: YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And we're all familiar with them. And I would like to talk about those systems in the terms of what I call crowd power systems. So in the context of giving people more power, you could use Facebook, YouTube and Twitter to perform certain activities. And as a case study, you might point to the Arab Spring. And you have the use of social media to affect change in an environment. Now, we're not going to say that social media did everything. We're not going to go there. And we're not going to make quality statements as to whether it was good or bad, just to say that the use of crowd power systems was used by people to change their world. The Arab Spring is a great example. Social media was a tool that was used by the crowd, by anyone, to communicate and to schedule and to organize. That's an example of what I call a crowd power system. And so here we have it to where we understand that the system must be understood if you're going to increase power. Now, I mentioned the internet as a fabric, and the 3 web apps that I mentioned, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, are the current really good examples of how a new type of a system through the internet, through web applications, can be used to increase power for the people. And again, power to the people doesn't always mean politics. It could mean economics and social power. And that's how many people, many brands use Facebook, right? That is very powerful. Facebook has been used for very, very good purposes for brands, and brands have made very big mistakes on Facebook. And so they need to be taken and they need to be understood so that the limitations of the system need to be understood so that you don't make those kinds of mistakes. Okay, so finally we're getting to, I want to explain that the web application itself is a great tool and is now, I believe, the cutting edge. I believe web applications are the frontier of giving power to the people, and people could mean anything. It could mean an organization, it could just mean an individual, it could mean a group, it could mean a crowd. It doesn't have to just be a crowd though. So whatever the context is for your environment. So these web applications now hold the potential of that undiscovered country. So the imagination has to expand in order to encompass what is possible. You shouldn't limit yourself based on what you see currently, right? And that's what invention and entrepreneurship is vision. Vision is different than just imagination because vision is seeing the future and knowing it is the correct future. So a visionary says, I know that is possible, and I'm going to go there and I'm going to take it and bring it into the present, and no one's going to stop me. The visionary says, I see it and I'm going to bring it into life. And so when we talk about crowd power systems, we need to have the vision to know what is possible with those web applications. Okay, so we have a web application that is being built with the express purpose of giving people more power. It's being designed with the understanding of all the limitations out there as to what hinders people from having more power, communication systems, feedback systems, incentivizing agents. Those are all things that is taken into consideration so that this new system, this new web application can give people more power. And again, not just political and economic power. There's more types of power out there. And the big point is that you will be the one to determine the kind of power that you would like. This new system is like a hammer. It's like a tool. We're giving you a hammer, and you need to go find the nails. And you'll find the ones that you want to hit. Now, the metric that we can use to determine which systems have more power and all those things, like the radio, television, the metric that we can use is this: whether this system enables an idea to live on its own. I could give you a phone book, and that is obviously a directory of people, but that is a very weak system because the people in that phone book have no knowledge of each other. They can't, like in reference to the internet, they can't upload data because the telephone system is not persistent. As soon as I hang up the phone, the data that we have discussed is lost unless another system is used to record it and retrieve it and all those things. So this new system, the metrics that we are now understanding to use to measure different systems and whether they have greater power potential or not, is going to be whether an idea can live on its own or not. Ideas need to be able to live on their own within systems so that those ideas can be attacked or defended by anyone who chooses to do so. If an idea is attacked and no one comes to its defense, say like on a Facebook group, a YouTube conversation, any kind of system. If an idea is attacked and no one defends it, that idea will die, and then it won't see the light of day, it won't create actionable results. But if there was a system that allowed ideas to live on their own, so that as people come in and contribute comments, post videos, they could attack ideas, and once attacked, another person can come in and defend that idea, then that would be something. And that's how I measure systems, is how well can others attack, how well can others defend a living idea on a system. Right now I use the examples of YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Those systems don't do a very good job of allowing ideas to live and breathe and die. Most of the time it's just dying. Someone uploads an idea and then it dies over time. The persistency of the information, although permanent on the internet, the system itself does not allow for those agents in the system to make that idea actionable, because usually ideas are attacked very well on the internet and they die. Well, there is a new system coming onto the web soon that will allow ideas to live and breathe. And you will be a part of that. You will now have a tool that you can use to allow those ideas of yours to be put on the internet and to be defended by others. It'll be a system where like minds can come together in ways that current systems do not allow for. And so this is a system that I'm alluding to and that we are creating as we speak right now. And you will be able to finally have greater tools to shape your environment, and it will be your agenda that sees the light of day, because your idea can now live and breathe on its own with the crowd coming together. Like I said, the crowd power systems. It's now a system designed so that crowd ideas that are sifted and refined can actually see actionable results and affect change in your environment. And that is what we are doing. So TED is a place where we want to share ideas. Well, finally we're creating a system to where your ideas, can see the light of day and affect change in your world. And that is giving power to the people. Thank you for your time.